Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today I'm going to be talking about Sintx technologies and corporations with the ticker going as SINT. So this is another COVID play here. I'm going to be assessing first technical analysis, then going to the news. This one is going to probably play more towards the news than the technical analysis, but technical analysis here are quite important and can give you a little bit of what would probably happen in the worst case scenario if the news doesn't really go through. So first things first, we can see that the William percent R is going more towards the oversold part, which is a good sign. The momentum is increasing, but hasn't reached its high as high as before, so that's good. That's another good sign. The average directional index is between it's still under 50, so that's a little bit off a red flag, but it's still in a good strong movement. Now going to the unbalanced volume, we can get to see that there's a lot of bag holders still, and it hasn't been considerably quote-unquote dumped or not really sold yet. In terms of looking into the averages, we can see that the 10 SMA is higher than the 30 MA, which is an amazing sign. It's still under the 200 SMA, so it's still considered cheaper, and it still has considerable amount of supports and resistances that we can see. Now going towards, let's say, the 1 hour period here, we get to see quite a lot of movement in this stock. And we get to see a little bit in terms of the MACD going a little bit towards dying out in the aftermarket, but still seeing a good amount of growth. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking here is the average directional index, where we can see that it's starting to create a trend in the aftermarket, which was green, around 3% of that. Now, going afterwards towards the William percent R, we get to see in the last day, it was a little bit more towards the overbought, but it depends as well on the news. So, going here towards the moving averages first, we get to see that the moving averages of the stock has been following quite properly and has pulled it back towards where the price is supposed to be more off around, but it still sees spikes. So if we're going around 1 month, 1 day, sorry about that, right here, we get to see that there's a good amount of increase that we'll probably be seeing around 0.90 sometime in the week if the moving averages continue. Now, next thing is trend line. I try to draw the trend lines here. The first trend line that I've drawn was this one here. And we can see that there's a massive drop going around to 0.50 for where the trend line is. But for me, it appears that this trend line is far off from where I would consider to be quote-unquote normal. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to go and draw another trend line from the second support to the third supports, or to the following thereof supports. And we can see here that it is kind of breaking onto the trend line. I don't know if it stopped under end of it. Here, let's double check. Do the 1 month, 1 hour. Okay, we can see that it ended with above that trend line, so that might be a little bit dangerous where the stock price might still dip below the trend line, but in general, it has been following a positive trend line. So in terms of trend lines, that's positive. Now, let's try to look into a little bit of the Fibonacci retracements before we go on and go towards the news part. So 1 month, 1 hour. Try to look into here. Okay. We can see a support here around 0.77 for Fibonacci retracements, and it's currently sitting as well really close to the 0.80 Fibonacci retracements, which could be considered more of a resistance as well. So after it crosses the 0.80, we can probably see it reach the 0.84 with ease, especially since there's a lot of resistances between the 0.8 and the 0.9 area that are seen in the last at least month. Now, going now towards a little bit of the news. This is a big play because a lot of the time stocks can get hyped. So this is their website, Sintx. Now what I did is I went to news, media, and press releases. And what I did found is recently, they have a publication around on June 20th regarding Sintx announces SARS-CoV testing results, and it has released that right here, announced that in a controlled laboratory study, the SARS-CoV-2 virus was inactivated when exposed to Sintx centered silicon nitride powder, which is a good news because right now, we're in mid of a pandemic, and COVID plays are going to be hot. So, this news has been traded around quite a lot, and with a lot of hype, you can see the stock jump on Monday. But however, since this news is coming in around on Saturday, it's hard to say when would that news considered to be priced in the Monday. It could be all just in the pre-market. So you need to be very careful. So if the stock jumps 20% in pre-market, that might be a little bit of a red flag for me, where people who bought it early on in the pre-market would want to sell it early on in the day and move to another stock. So you need to consider that psychology. But so far in terms of news, this looks amazing news, and it looks like it's going to see definitely a green onto the pre-market, at least, just based on the hype alone. So that's been my own DD. I don't have any positions, but if I see a little bit of even a pullback in the pre-market, I would definitely jump on this stock. That's just my opinion. Make sure to do your own DD, and if you have any questions, make sure to comment them below. I reply fairly quickly. Like, share, and subscribe. That's how you keep us going. Have a good day.